Well, again, we'll be doing questions at the end. So if you have a question as I go along, put it in the Q&A. Try not to put it in the chat, but try to put it in the Q&A. Things get kind of buried in the chat. All right, so welcome everyone. And I really appreciate you investing your time this afternoon to kind of hang out. And I've been doing one of these a month. And, we've been teaching our clients that, in times like this, a year becomes a month becomes a week becomes a day. And I don't think it's ever been more true than over the past 90 days. I look at, we all kind of reflect back to March, what a different recruiting world we're in, never mind different world we're in. And the good news appears, I'm going to get into this a lot, is things are getting better, significantly more quicker than we would anticipate. So I changed the title, even though I'm going to cover everything I promised in the email. As I was finalizing this last night and this morning, I really discovered as I was going through this, and I tweaked this quite a bit. Again, a month becomes a week becomes a day. So wanted to make this as real as possible, that I really see 4 M's in this recovery. And for those of you who don't know me, I know we've got a bunch of new people who found us in our Facebook group and through LinkedIn. I opened up my recruiting firm in 1990. I almost went out of business in May 1991. I had gone through about 100,000 bucks, 60,000 of which was backed by my father-in-law at the time, and had $626 of that left in my business checking account, with about $6,000 a month in business overhead. Because back then I was in a franchise, you opened an office, you had rent, you had a full-time admin, you had recruiters that you were paying minimum wage draws to, which wasn't a lot, but it all added up to about six grand. Made a ton of mistakes, but not for about $20,000 I borrowed from, or I got in credit card before I left my job at Motorola. You wouldn't be here listening to me today. So the main thing I just wanted to stress is that I was like a 10-year overnight success story. That success did not come quickly to me in this business. As a matter of fact, I was almost a pure failure. And so I got through that period of time, and I started to rebuild the business. But 93, 94, I was doing okay, 150, 200,000 in personal billings, very little production whatsoever out of my team. And I had a bunch of blind spots on how I saw the business. And that's what I want to cover, because I'm coaching people now. I see people have a lot of blind spots in this business, and how I thought about the business. And I remember probably in the mid-90s, it was 95, 96, I saw Michael Jordan speak. And I remember him talking about how he had, I forgot it was 2 or 3 coaches, but I remember one was a shooting coach and one was kind of an athletic coach. And I'm thinking arguably one of the greatest basketball players of all time, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Great series on him recently on ESPN, just talked about how hard he worked. And if he had a coach, and he's the best, who am I, who in the bottom quartile of this business, and that's being generous, without getting help? And that was really kind of a pivot point, because it helped me change the way I thought about almost everything. And most importantly, at that point in my life, the business. And I thought this business was really, back then, I thought this business was really hard. I had these beliefs around nobody wanted to talk to me. These were all beliefs, and I had a lot of fear of losing money. I was, when I was losing money, I was always afraid of losing money. And the more I was afraid of losing more money, the more money I lost. See, whatever we're afraid of and that we concentrate on, and I'm going to get to this a little bit later, we actually get more of. So if we're focused on lack, we get more lack. And it's just the way the brain works. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So these were all beliefs, and I had evidence for every one of them. And we all do. If we look at beliefs that we have about this business, thoughts we have about this business, it's important that we change this as we get into the recovery. When I received coaching around this, I went from probably less than $200,000 a year to about a $3 million business in about 4 years, maybe a little longer, 4.5 years. And we're going to cover today 4 key areas, the 4 M's of the recovery: mindset, the thinking about the recovery, because this is why I want to lead with this. The problem in your lives is never the problem. The problem is how you think about the problem. And I'm going to teach you today how your internal feedback loop and how it holds you back most of the time. And I'm going to show you one strategy today, and you'll notice the change if you apply it after you leave today. Number 2, the right metrics for today. What you need to know numerically to get new clients, make placements, and attract candidates. We've been measuring them with our clients, going as a crowdsourced data since the 3rd or 4th week of March. I'm going to share with you how they've been progressing incredibly nicely. Progressing nicely, excuse me. And 3rd, management, motivation, kind of your bonus 5th M, motivation. If you're tired of asking yourself why your recruiters, even yourself, aren't more motivated, more productive, we'll give you a couple strategies to fix that later in this training. And lastly, marketing and business development. I promised you one strategy. No one else is teaching to that's getting about 80% return calls and emails right now. So that'll be the last segment we cover today. So that's kind of the curriculum for today. First, let's jump into mindset. And I want to launch a poll. So here's the poll. Don't sit there and wait for everyone's results. It's anonymous. I won't be able to see names. I want to start with how you think about the recruiting business right now, where we are kind of mid-June. So you're going to see a poll come up, and I just want you to click on, you can click on as many of these that apply. The business is hard. Clients are hard to find. I don't have enough time to fill in the blank. Companies won't pay me up front. Hiring managers don't want to talk to me. I feel like I'm bothering people when I call them. So good stuff. Give you like, so far we got about half of you voting. Another few seconds, and I'll read off the results because I'm not sure. I'm developing new capabilities, by the way, in developing this. So even though I'm sharing a screen, I'm going to end the polling. I think I can share it with everybody. Take another 10 seconds, kind of just, okay. Clients are hard to find. Number 1, 57% of you who answered, that was one of your responses. I feel these all got substantial answers, right? The business is hard, 37%. I don't have enough time, 28%. Companies don't want to pay money up front, 30%. Hiring managers don't want to talk to me, 31%. I feel like I'm bothering people when I call, 27%. I have somebody saying they can't share the list. So I did share it. So I'm not, hopefully it's popped up on your screen. Yeah, attendees are now viewing the poll results. Okay. What I want you to recognize, whatever you checked and whatever we see here, which I'm not surprised by any of it. That's why this is what I hear from people all the time. It's what I used to believe too. Whatever you checked is a belief you have about this business. You have made that belief true and seek evidence unconsciously every day to validate it. So clients are hard to find. So you get on the phone with somebody and somebody tells you, look, you know, Mr. Ms. Recruiter, I'm not hiring right now. And you're like, oh, good clients are hard to find. You talk to somebody and they're like, oh, we're only, right now in this economy, we only pay 10%. We want a 6-month money back guarantee. Evidence of clients are hard to find. Good clients are hard to find. Now, if that occurred in January or February, you would have just moved on to the next one because, you know, it wasn't hard to find clients. There's an art to getting great ones, but it wasn't hard to find clients in January, February. And we just always, whenever, if you're, what I need you to know that whatever you clicked is running in the background subconsciously. and your subconscious is seeking evidence. I'm going to give you a technique in a minute to change that. Because here's the dirty little secret. None of these are true. None of these are true. Is it true every company's not hiring? Yes, of course. But this business can be easy. Good clients can be easy to find. You have more than enough time. There's people out there running $100 million search firms, $10 million search firms with the same amount of time God gave you every week. Companies won't pay me up front. Absolutely not true. All our clients that apply this get money up front, even in this economy. So there is a process to it. You might be ignorant of how to get money up front. That's okay. But these statements that I made, I purposely made them because we can disprove every one of them. Hiring managers don't want to talk to me. Some may not, but most do from our surveys. And I feel like I'm bothering people on a call. And that's an internal thing, right? So I can't say that's not true, but I can tell you, you're not bothering anyone. And without going too deep into this today, I can't bother anybody, right? You can be bothered, but I can't bother you. You can choose a state of bother, but so again, I don't have enough time to go into this and all the details. But thanks so much for all of you who shared this. I just wanted to, because I wanted to put you in the mindset of how you're thinking, and what if it was possible? Because what happens is, when you do this, is what you believe and what you desire are not congruent. So for example, you're a solo operator. I want 350,000 in billings, but good clients are hard to find. I can't get job orders. No one wants to talk to me. LinkedIn is expensive. Training costs too much. Placements are hard to make. So I want 350, but then your subconscious is running that track of everything's hard. No one wants to talk to me. Things are difficult. Or you're an office owner and you want to have $1 million, $2 million, $5 million office, but in your head, you're like, nobody wants to work hard anymore. It's hard to find good recruiters. I don't have the time to train new people. It takes way too long. It's too expensive. It's not a good time right now with the economy the way it is. And those are all false. They're true for you. So I'm not arguing that you're not experiencing that by any means. But I'm saying just as those statements are true, the opposite is also true. And I can give you tons of evidence for that. So here's kind of some of you who may have been to one of my events, saw me do this before. Here's your 5 primary drivers on how you think. So I've done this. I've brought people in front of a room. Every time actually we do an event, myself or our mindset coach, Francis, will bring somebody in front of the room. And we usually pick one that has a ton of commonality. So I'll pick one like people don't want to talk to me. Or well, let's use the one that was most common. Clients are hard to find. So when you believe the belief, clients are hard to find, the thoughts are, it's going to take a lot of work to find them. I have to talk to a ton of people. And then the feeling is like somebody might get a little anxious around that, tired around it. There might be an exhaustion before anything even happens. Because a lot of times this belief kicks in. You sit down at your desk at 8:30, and let's say you had a plan to market, and this belief goes, your subconscious is trying to keep you safe. Why bother? Clients are hard to find. And those are the thoughts. Why bother? Clients are hard to find. Feelings, not remorse, but lack of resolve. Anxiety around it. The action is usually procrastination. It's usually in this situation inaction. You go to your LinkedIn feed, you check your email, set your, well, you can't send any fantasy rosters right now, so we don't have that distraction. And the results are you don't get any clients. And even though you may have only put out a few phone calls or a few in-mails or things like that. So the result is there are no clients, which reinforces the belief that clients are hard to find. If the belief was, and again, I'm giving you real world situations, people I've coached in front of a room when we flip this on them. Well, what if the opposite were true? And they would be like, what do you mean, Mike? Clients are easy to find. I go, you've got clients before in your career. Yeah. And I'll say, give me an example of a couple easy clients. Like you had an initial phone call with them and, and they were fun to talk to and it took off. And I go, without naming the company, so you can all do this in your mind's eye, what was a company that was relatively easy to find? And come up with that. And when you talk, if they were all like that, if you knew you could talk to people like that fluently, what would your thoughts be? Oh my God, I'd be excited to get on the phone because I knew I could find another one. And then you'll actually, if you do this the right way, you can see it in front of a room, their entire emotion switches from dread to feelings of excitement and eagerness. And the actions are they would talk to more people. And the results is they'd find more clients. Again, not every client is great and not everyone is hiring, but it would reinforce the belief that when they did the work, clients were easy to find because, and I'll give you the metrics in a bit, how many people you have to talk to get a client. When we've done this probably 8 or 10 times in front of a room. And every time I go to the audience, usually about 50 people, and I go, did you see the change in Mary or Joe or whatever? And there's an entire pivot on the belief system. So the coaching I can give you today real quick is take the belief that's holding you back. And then what I want you to do is take that belief and then find the opposite. And then find evidence in your own life or even someone else's, maybe you have another recruiter friend, where the evidence shows that it's true. Find evidence for the opposite of the things holding you back. All right, so the second M is metrics, the right metrics. And again, if you have any questions as we go along, I know some people jumped on. If you have any questions, put them in the Q&A box. We will get to the Q&A. I will have time at the end of the call today. So I want to do another poll. And around metrics. So don't feel bad. 80% of the people I talk to that aren't clients of ours, when they come to us, I'll ask them if they track their numbers and down to the presentation count. So what I want to do here is, do you track metrics? Yes, I track metrics. I track job orders, first-time interviews, and presentations, meaning actual conversations, or here's a bunch of reasons where I don't track metrics. You can pick more than one. So for the reasons you don't track. So if you're putting your tracking, I want you to be honest, you're tracking how many physical people you talk to every day, marketing conversations, recruit conversations, how many candidates, and those ratios. So we have some I don't track because I don't understand why I need to. Micromanagement, they're adults and they should work hard. Honestly, the big one so far. Come on, keep going. Don't be shy. It's anonymous. I can't call you out. Honestly, just lazy about it. All right, so we got about 100 people skating on the skating on the answers of everyone else. So I'm going to end the polling here in a couple seconds. And here's the results. I don't believe this. So I would want it 58%. That's the biggest audit you track. First time interviews, job orders, presentations. Maybe if you track them, do you know the metrics? Do you know how many exactly, specifically, and precisely? How many marketing presentations to get a job order? Like, is it 18.2 or are you going to tell me it's about 20? Because if you tell me about 20, well, actually you're tracking, you're just not using them the right way. So you're in integrity with the answer. And the answer which I thought would get the most numbers was, honestly, I'm just lazy about it. And the reason people are lazy about it is they don't understand why it's important. And if you run an office, You know, like we have, you know, it's only 2%. Don't track, because I hear this a lot from owners. They're adults and they should want to work hard. It's micromanagement. Again, if those are your beliefs, we'll go back to the first section under mindset. You're using numbers the wrong way. And I'll demonstrate why here in a minute. I don't track because I don't understand why I need to. That's like, again, and by the way, it's not your fault. Most of us were taught the wrong way. I worked in a franchise, right? And I was a franchisee. I was paying for a system, but I wasn't taught how important ratios were. I was weak at it. I was weak at best for about 8 years in the business. Honestly, I was dragged complaining, whining, and moaning to the concept of what the right numbers were, metrics, KPIs. And I was finally convinced by that first coach I hired, a guy named Pasquale Scopoliti, who showed me that the key to predictable revenue and the key to sanity really in this business was tracking numbers. My limiting belief was taking and checking numbers was micromanagement, just like some of you said. You see, I was hiring adults that should want to do a good job, which is true. The people I hired wanted to do a good job. This M, the second M, metrics, is what makes it easier. David Jansen, it's great to see you. Your voice is in my head. Of course you trust metrics. That's awesome, my friend. Back to thinking the wrong way. Metrics and KPI used the right way is the most liberating gift you can give yourself and your team in any economy, especially now. And I'll share the data with you here in a minute. So, you know, for example, if you want a 300K billing desk, it's a simple average it's a simple algebra equation. With an average fee of $25,000, that means you make 12 placements a year. Right, so 12 times 25,000 is 300 grand. Placements are a function of first-time interviews, and I always tell people if they don't track their metrics, use 8-to-1, but if you have the right metrics, use that. So that means if you're going to make 12 placements a year, you'll average 1 a month, and to make 1 placement, you need 8 interviews a month. Works out to just about 2 a week, a little bit under because there's 13 weeks in a quarter. So it's, you know, 8 interviews times 12 placements is 96 interviews. That's 300 grand. Nothing can be simpler. You want $1 million business, probably 7 interviews a week, 6-7 interviews a week, depending on your desk. So when I coach people, when we train people, it changes the whole dynamic of the conversation on what do you need. Why? Because the mistake most make is they focused on job orders or deals in progress. When one blows up, and we all know good economy, bad economy, deals blow up, we're devastated, versus it's baked into the 8-to-1. Now, it doesn't mean when I say we don't focus on deals, you don't focus on doing everything possible, prep, debrief, you know, strategizing with the candidate and the employer. I'm not discounting any of that. But if you're arranging an interview a month and you're nursing a deal, you're set up for frustration. If you're setting up 2 interviews a week and a deal blows up, it's part of the process. It's just what happens. So the data we've been crowdsourcing, this is through mid-June 2020, is, you know, up till mid-April, it was 28-30 marketing presentations, conversations to a job order. And here in North America, in the UK, it's different because they're in a much tighter shutdown mode than we are here in the States and in Canada. But it's come down to, when we just did our report this week, I think it was 17.8 marketing presentations, almost half of what it was 8 weeks ago. It's been coming down, you know, it came down to 22, 23, it came down to 21, and I think 19, I forgot to write it down. It's like 17.8 marketing presentations to a job order, crowdsourced over dozens of clients, right? So if you want and this is our qualifier, is a job order, they will work, not where there's an opening. So if you want a job order a week, you need to talk to 3 to 4 prospects a day, period, that easy. The great news is the recruiting metrics didn't change significantly at all during the period. It's been around 12 or 13 recruit presentations to get one person to go on an interview. And we're seeing no evidence whatsoever of candidates being reluctant to move. Candidates are reluctant to move. I'm not saying that you're not hearing that. I'm saying it's statistically not baked into that cake. And the other one we know is the interview to placement ratio has been 6.54 to 1. First time interviews to a placement throughout the entire pandemic. I'm shocked by that number though. I thought, I was telling our clients to prepare for, if they were at 7 or 8, to plan on 10 or 11 because companies got pickier, they would experience downturns. I'm just giving you the real data. I'm pleasantly surprised, which makes me incredibly optimistic for this rebound, which is one of the reasons I wanted to hold this training for, as Francis, our Alabamian coach, said, for y'all. I wanted to hold that training for y'all today. And we are, as a profession, focused, good economy, bad economy, on the one thing we can't control, which was what I was focused on for 8 years, which was the placement. When I finally grasped how to use metrics the right way, I focused on arranging interviews, coaching my team, managing my team to an interview number, and simultaneously stopped focus on placements, and placements went up. When we stopped focusing on placements, placements went up. When you focus on interviews and the inputs needed to get them, it forms your plan for the week. So if we sat down if you sit down as a team and you go, or as an individual, and you're that 300K individual, and you say, well, where are my 2 interviews coming this week? And you ask yourself that maybe on Sunday or Monday morning, and you go, well, I don't have anything to work on. Well, that dictates your plan has to be heavy marketing that week, right? If you go, I have 4 searches open, then it dictates where am I most likely to get the first 2 interviews. Again, I don't have time to go through the whole kind of planning phase. It's what we cover in our programs, but that target and that goal, as long as you ardently desire that number of 300K, you just didn't throw it out to the wind. In any economy, and right now in this economy, it's not a hard number to get. And I would just challenge most of you that are struggling, you're probably not talking to a lot of people every week because there's some belief that why bother, nobody's hiring, which is absolutely not true, Anyway, the next area is on the 4 M's is management and motivation. And this is true whether you're a solo operator or a firm owner, especially true as a firm owner with people, because you need to duplicate yourself through others. Many owners believe hiring and training are hard in any economy. Many solo operators think it's easier to be a solo than have a firm for that very reason. So one more poll. I think this is my last poll. Yes. Put up a poll, and if you're a solo operator, this is a question when I'm at a live event, so I figured raise some hands. If you're a solo operator, what are the reasons? You can choose more than one here. Again, it's anonymous. Too hard to find good recruiters. Training is a bear. It takes too much time. I like the freedom it provides. I like the flexibility it provides. Been there, done that, didn't like it. I've been both, right? So while these are trickling in, I've been a solo operator in the early mid-90s after having a team. And I remember canoeing to an island pre-cell phone era, like 92, 93, when I was camping to find a payphone and calling my answering machine for the messages, and then later on taking calls on myself from clients and candidates at a lake cottage, when I was hanging out with my wife and kids. And what I found was the things that I loved doing sitting at a desk are the things that I absolutely hated doing when I was on vacation. So let me end the poll and share it with you. I like the flexibility it provides. Been there, didn't, that's 58%, so the #1 response. I like the freedom it provides. So those are kind of related. I don't do it because it takes too much time and it's too hard to find recruiters. So I'm going to take the motivation management mindset. For those of you who are solo, I'm just going to invite you to consider the possibility. I'm not going to should, S-H-O-U-L-D. I'm not going to should on you. I would challenge you to look at the exact opposite of everything you said is true. I've been both. The least flexible and the least freedom I had was a solo operator. I'll say that again. The least freedom, the least flexibility I had was a solo operator. My first child was born in 1995, turned 25 actually just the other day. And then, I wanted to be, I wanted the flexibility of what this profession provided. And I had dual goals. I wanted to make a lot of money and I wanted a lot of flexibility. So I engineered a firm so that I could coach my kids. I could go away on vacation without calling in. In the mid-2000s, I was leaving the office around 3:30, 4 o'clock to coach Little League, softball, and baseball. I became league president so that I could control the schedule so that neither of my kids that were playing at the time played on the same day. So for those of you, if you don't like other human beings and you hate training, okay, I get it. But if the sole reason you're not growing an office is, you should be in touch with us then, is freedom and flexibility. I'm telling you, having experienced both, the least flexible job I had, including back to Motorola when I was an employee, was solo operator. And that's, now you can be a low billing, relatively low billing, solo operator and have a lot of flexibility. And there are purple squirrels out there that bill a lot and have a lot of flexibility. So what I'm just saying is this goes back to mindset, how people think about the business. And again, I'm going to give you a couple reasons here, but because I think we were all taught the wrong way and the wrong model to hire recruiters. So the question I ask you is, what if having a team was the easiest way to have both time and financial freedom in recruiting? It became that way for me, and here's how to make it true for you as we continue to emerge from this viral economy. Because I think right now, if you're looking to expand, you have access with less competition to a greater amount of talent out there than we had in the past. So step one, get clear on what role you want to play as owner without having to know how. This is where most people get caught up because they go, oh, it's not realistic. I don't know how. Of course you don't know how. You haven't done it, or you haven't done it the right way. Get clear on what role you would want to play as owner. Do you want to be coach? I took myself off a desk after about 12 years because I wanted to be a coach role. And I was player coach for 12 years. And kind of coach only for about 8. I'm not shooting on which one you should want, but if you could have it any way you wanted, how would you hand carve your role as the owner of your firm? For me, I want a long-term financial security. I talk to a lot of people, they want to be able to retire without lowering their lifestyle. So there's the financial component of that. One of the things when I engineered my role in the later stages of being on a desk, I only wanted to talk to warm leads that I would turn into searches. So the cold call was being handled by someone else. I wanted time freedom. Again, like I said, me coaching Little League, I never called in on vacation after like 2002. You can want to have really nice vacations. And, where would you go? If you could hand carve the role you wanted and eliminate realistic, eliminate how for now, just go to desire, and write that question down as a question to answer later. Get clear on what billing level you're shooting for 12 months from now, 24 months out, and what that allows specifically for you that you don't have now. See, I'll talk to an owner and he or she'll be doing, say, $500,000 a year. Maybe they have 1 or 2 other recruiters and they go, Mike, I want to have $1 million firm. Great. So what would $1 million allow for you that you don't have now? And 8 out of 10 times they can't answer that question. 99 out of 100 times they can't answer that question specifically. And in the absence of specificity, your brain is muddled and there's confusion, it's one of the reasons we procrastinate. For example, we were talking about this on one of our group calls this week, group Zoom meetings this week with our clients. With specificity comes an emotion of desire, and in the absence of that, I see a lot of people just abandon what they're going after because they get stuck where they're at. So, you know, if you could have it any way you wanted it, what would that look like for you? And then do the same exercise if you have a team with your team members. My experience is most just want more money and haven't allocated or defined what more is and where it goes. That's recruiter-wise, just like the owner. So the owner wants a 7-figure firm, and I go, what difference would that make in your life? And they're like, I don't know. And I go, that's why you don't have it, right? If you don't know the answer to whatever, let's say when we were going through metrics and you go, oh, you know, I'm a solo operator, 300 grand would be a nice desk. What does 300 allow for you that you don't have now? If you can't get there specifically, it's the big reason you're stuck where you're at. And you're clouding it with nobody wants to hire, nobody wants to talk to me, it's hard to find good clients. The reason is lack of clarity and passion of a desire to make something happen. Okay. So do the same exercise with your team members. You know, I found like if I hired somebody and they never made more than 40, 50,000 bucks a year, you know, they would come to me and they would have a goal of, I want to make 6 figures. Fantastic. We had a lot of people make 6 figures in our firms. And the people that worked for me knew I really coached heavily around, okay, if you're going to make 100,000, let's say you never made more than 50, you're probably going to have 30 to 35,000 net of taxes in disposable income. Right? Because if you're paying your bills at 45, this 35 grand extra 3,000 a month after tax is going, where's it going to go? And early in my career, when I didn't do this exercise, is what I found is a lot of these people hovered around 50, 60 grand a year. They were doing a little bit better than when they joined, but they never put a stake in the ground around a superior desire. So that clarity, coaching them to that clarity is huge to increase their performance and to create a business that runs without you, because they end up working for themselves, not for you. And then you just reverse whatever number they give you, you reverse engineer using the metrics we taught. Connect their activity to their earnings down to the presentation level. Here's how many people you need to talk to today to make 300 grand this year. It gets that simple. 95% of the people I talk to don't know that, or if they do, it's not implemented. And coach to the level of desire. If they say they want to bill 300 grand and they're at a run rate of 200, I would go up to somebody and I'd say, hey, you know, I would hold their goals up to them and I'd say, hey, which one of these are you giving up on? Because you know, the activity is not in alignment with the goal. Not the billings, by the way. The activity is not in alignment with the goals. I never coached, when I figured this out, I didn't coach to placements. I coached to job orders and first-time interviews, and then down to the presentation count. The next thing is, as a manager, leader, motivator, is you need to change. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I just want to give you a little insight, because if you're going to come out of this, you need to change the way you hire. Hiring somebody to do all aspects of the business, market, recruit, prep, debrief, close, you know, it's conservatively hire 7. A lot of people hire 10 to keep 1, which is why we don't hire. It's why I stopped hiring. It was a nuisance. And it does take too long to train. When you do it the right way, and you say, if you're a billing manager, you build off of your desk and you hire somebody either to do lead gen through all the ways, maybe you already know how to do lead gen. They do that initial call to set up an appointment, call that a marketing coordinator, or you have stuff for them to work on. You can put somebody on your desk to recruit on your assignments. Now, again, I don't have a lot of time to get into this today, but you don't want to put somebody on your desk to work on your best searches. You want to give them low-grade contingency business. It's the only time I took that business, and I took it as a training ground for the new hire, right? And I would tell the person, I'll work Mr. Ms. Hiring manager on your week terms, because I got a new gal that I'm going to have work on it. I'll final screen their candidates. So I'll show you quality. I just can't guarantee you quantity, because for all I know, they quit or I fire them in their first week. And I really lost somebody in the first week. But when you hire in these different roles, you allow them to master the marketing component with you as a mentor, or the recruiting component with you as a mentor, or if you have a big biller in your office, leveraging their abilities in the same way with you as a billing manager. And then I hold them accountable to very specific activity in their first 90 days, daily. We have daily accountability meetings. And I had a 100%, not a 99, a 100% success rate with those that hit that metric. So we knew that if they weren't going to hit that metric and they were stubborn or passive aggressive, we'd fire them in the first few days. You don't have to wait 4 months to see if they're making a placement like we were taught. How long will you wait until somebody succeeds? 3 days, 4 days tops. Because I know, and we've demonstrated this within my office, I demonstrated this now for the last 10 years with our clients, new hires that hit certain critical metrics. I don't have time to go through them all because it's there's a few of them, is 100% success rate with those that hit it. Did 100% of the people we hired do it? No. But now, instead of keeping somebody sucking payroll and, more importantly, my time on board for 90 days, a lot of those people are gone in 2 to 4 weeks. Next, implement morning meetings, at least once per week via Zoom if you're still remote. And question, where are your interviews coming from this week? Get them all thinking about that. Help each other strategize with that. Number 2, who's at a second interview stage or later that you're working on? And then you group think through all the checklists of, did you ask him or her about their number? Did you ask them if they were available to start in 2 weeks? Especially with all the things now, with all the extra contingencies around what the work environment's going to be like. Has the company been really clear with how safe it's going to be and how they're going to start? So those are some of the key things to do motivationally to keep people on track, not only in this economy. I would, we did this all the time in a really good economy. All right, so I've got one more key technique, key strategy. I promise you, the one thing no one else is teaching. I'm going to give you that in a minute, in a couple of minutes. But for those that want to go deeper, again, I can only spend 5 or 10 minutes on each one of these today. This is our model for having a real business, whether you're a solo operator or a firm builder. 3 key components, having revenue certainty, which is going from roller coaster revenue to steady income, a self-driving business from bought a job to CEO, and becoming a trusted advisor, going from annoying vendor to partner, right? So each one of these has 3 key areas. We've seen that if somebody has all of these 9 areas mastered in their business, they have a real business. They have a business with predictable profits, reliable growth, and tons of business and personal freedom. So we're running a virtual event next week, June 24th, 25th, 26th. Just us, not like our telesummit, our virtual speaker event. This is a 3-day training, and we've broken it down to be a lot shorter every day, so we don't put you in overwhelm. So it's kind of the road back to getting great clients and a self-managed business. First, if you're intrigued, and if you're intrigued with what you've heard so far, we want to go deeper on these topics, and we're running that event 12 to 2:30 Eastern Time, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. So it's not overwhelming. 2.5 hours is enough to absorb, kind of digest, come back the next day. We've run these in 1-day virtuals, and the feedback we tend to get is, by the end of the day, people were exhausted. So we're breaking it into 3 really digestible chunks, excuse me. Day 1, which is next Wednesday, the 24th, the 3 core systems to building a real business. We're going to get into those areas and a lot deeper. We're going to have you do a self-audit, the 3 key accelerators you need to apply in each core system, the #1 system for revenue predictability and how to implement it, and then we'll have ample time for Q&A. Day 2 is the right thinking to reemerge. So we're going to go to mindset. We're going to have our coach Francis on the call, the mental game to recovery. If you wait for the all clear, it's too late. It's, again, evidence we have just via metrics, and I just have with our clients. We've got in different programs, we probably have 70 or 80 clients, is the fog is clearing. The fog is clearing. And we're going to help you discover your blind spot. I gave you, some of you talked about some of them today, which is what your belief around marketing was, or your belief around growing your business was. The thing that shows up is procrastination, poor time management, lack of discipline. If you've ever said any of these things to yourself, those are the symptoms of your blind spot. And then we're going to go deeper than I could today on how to break through it. There's a series of exercises Francis is going to take you through. And that's going to take most of the second day. And the third day is we're going to give you a choice. So if your focus is really on what clients respond to now, getting warm prospects without cold calling, or I'm going to really dive in, if you're a firm owner, I'm going to go a lot deeper into the roles of the recruiters I just talked about, and then share some templates and documents with you and how to motivate and manage your team. In addition, and we're doing this through Friday, which is, so that you can't say, well, you said Friday, Mike. Friday the 19th through end of business day. It's normally $397. Actually, when we run it live, it's almost, in a physical location, it's almost $1,000. I wanted to make this affordable to help people come out, so it's only $197. I'll give you the website in a minute. But in addition to everything we just covered, which is going to be live with me and my coaches, Kathleen, Dion, and Francis teaching, you're going to get. I had a great conversation with Danny Cahill. I did an interview with him in March on breaking out of the COVID downturn. Tons of techniques on getting clients. We're going to include that as a bonus that you can download and listen to with the transcript. And we have also a training on the 6 stages of transformation one must go through to break through to another level. And especially important after your confidence is shaken. There's a training and a template for you to do. We value that at about $200. And the planning tool on how to plan a great month, even in a downturn. There's a template and a training on how to do that. So really defining your month in advance, and then how to break it down into a series of weeks. So if you go to get.therecruiteruisuniversity.com/emerge, you can enroll now. Again, that price is going up on Friday. Or if you have any questions, you can call Priscilla at 860-200-7153. Or you can email us at mikeg@therecruiteru.com with any questions you have about the event. It's $197 for about probably what, knowing me, we'll go a little bit beyond 230, at least 8 hours of training, plus another 3 hours of bonus material. So if you have any questions on this, you can put it in the Q&A box too. I'll get to that when we're done. So again, get.therecruiteru.com/emerge. All right. Fourth M. You're talking too many M's. Is on marketing. And this is the #1 strategy that the only person I know is teaching it is the person who taught me, and a very good friend of mine named Angelique Ruers, who is this, whose company runs a company called the CEO Agent. And she teaches consultants and small business people how to get into corporate. And this is a thing she's run for years, and she's graciously allowed me to teach it to the recruiting industry. And we started teaching this at the end of March, and it's had a huge impact. The people that are implementing this are getting 80% responses to their emails and their voicemails. It's a great way to start a conversation. Let me explain what a roundtable and a power lunch is. You want a round table, you don't want to have more than 10 people in it. It's a round table. It's virtual. It's done via Zoom. no more than 2 weeks out. And you want to, so what I've been advising, because they're like, well, what do you talk about? I would have 3 topics you've heard from your prospects over the last couple of weeks. It could be strategies to emerge safely, strategies to bring your workforce back to the office, um, business development strategies without putting people on planes, depending on what your market niche is. I'm just giving you some examples. And then you float those by when somebody calls and says, look, we're running a strategy session with 9 of your peers. We're capping it at 10. It's going to be no longer than 75 minutes. And we're, here's the 3 topics. Which one is most relevant to you? And say, well, I'll email you no later than 3 days before what the topic the majority of the attendees want to talk about first. And if this works out well, I'm happy to do another one in a month. And really all you're doing, people make this way too complex, is you're facilitating a conversation with 10 people. And then you can, with Zoom, as you know, you can record and you can ask for permission to share the transcript. And maybe you make it anonymous. There might be certain things people don't want to talk about. But now you have the elements for marketing in a white paper. I just, conducted an executive roundtable with 10 individuals, and we went through their top 10 strategies to sell without getting on a plane. And here's what they are. You can give them to the executives to use within their own companies or within their own client base, right? So I don't have time to even get into all the places this makes so much sense, and it's dirt cheap, tremendous value. One of our clients in the UK, and as I said earlier, the UK got hit a lot harder based on their shutdown rules than we did here in North America, has been running these since early April. And the first one you run, you may or may not get like somebody wanting to use you. But if you run these consistently every few weeks, they're getting job orders. They're becoming the subject matter expert in their niche. They're the go-to recruiter. Recruiters don't do this. You're not going to find another coach or trainer in the business talking about this. And talk about something where you're bringing tremendous value to them, which is simply access to each other that they don't easily have, is something that is absolutely huge. And again, you're just facilitating the meeting. You're not teaching anything there. The other one is power lunches, or you can do power breakfasts. Same thing, about an hour long. You could teach on a topic for about 15 or 20 minutes. It could be like in this market, how to gain commitments of final interviews, what strategies you're using to get people to come back to work that might still be getting more unemployment. Unemployment might be the same or greater than if they went back to work. What are some things you're doing or your clients are doing creatively to solve that problem? And then you go to Q&A. So you pick a topic. I usually would challenge all of you to pick one on talent acquisition, because we know how messed up our prospects and our clients are. We know how messed up our prospects and our clients are. Teach on those topics. What you assume is 101, I'm telling you, they're not implementing. Why candidates turn down offers or take counter offers? That's going to be a problem that we're going to start to see emerge back this summer and fall very heavily. And another technique that is using, for those of you who've been following me, this is not new, but it's working incredibly well. It's what I call flip marketing. And we're just telling people to call executives and to be totally honest, Mr., Ms., VP, I wanted to see if you're open to hearing about something down the road that could be potentially stronger than your current situation. What are your thoughts on that? And then people are usually open. And what I just challenge you to go is, look, I don't have anything right now. We're coming out of this downturn. I'm anticipating some of my clients. I've heard whispers from some of my clients in the C-suite that they're going to be looking for VPs of whatever. And I wanted to get your thoughts. Are you open to hearing about something? Yeah. So before I go there, let me ask you, what do you really love about your work now? And the whole key is you don't want to stay in recruit mode. You want to find out what what their successes are now, what their accomplishments are now, what they love about what they do. And then I kind of go, geez, Mary, geez, Bob, sounds like things are going pretty well, all things considered. Well, I can't complain. Yeah. I'll happily keep you aware of something, but you know, I love the story you told, and I would just reiterate 2 or 3 of the things they loved about working there and say, you know, in addition to recruiting VPs of sales, in addition to recruiting VPs of engineering, and in addition to recruiting, you know, CFOs, we also build the teams underneath of them. You know, what would I have to do to earn the right to help you build your team? And that just takes the dialogue. What I learned, I've been doing this for 20 some odd years, is if there's an opening, they'll tell you about it. They might say, well, so if I'm hearing you right, Mike, you said you'll place salespeople, like, you know, in Chicago? Yeah, do it all day long. And I would always say, unlike our retained brethren, we don't find the $22,000, $23,000 fees placing salespeople insulting like our retained brethren do. You know, we like to have a holistic approach to a company. So, and the more you let them brag about themselves and what they want and they don't like, you're giving them an opportunity few people give them in the course of a day. And it's to hear the best voice in the world, which is their own. So those are some key marketing strategies that are working right now, getting good response rates via email, text, and voicemail. Like the roundtables is the big one. So right now you're kind of, you know, I think we're kind of at a crossroads. Some of you, and again, I'm not sure who's here on the call, but you're kind of at a crossroads, right? So I challenge you to kind of master the 4 M's of the recovery. You know, you can choose to take a path which leads to, you know, kind of victimhood. You know, why is this happening to me? You know, I used to think that way in recessions. And this one, what I realized in every recession, and I went through 91, I went through 01, 02, 08, 09, is I would never want to go back to any one of them. But I came out each one better. So when we went into this one, and I had my kind of pity party for a day or two, I'm like, how's this downturn going to make me better? So, you know, that's kind of the path you have is, can you ask yourself, where's the opportunity here that didn't exist before? And each one of you has a different one within your niche, right? So, you know, with mindset, I want, you know, so, you know, again, we'll go deeper on these areas, but with mindset, what has to be true for you to have, you know, 3 more clients, more, you know, 100,000, $500,000 more billing and more freedom? On the metric side, what the absolute key to predictable income, get off the roller coaster revenue. You want to master that. Management motivation. Remember, your recruiters, if they knew how to do this business without management and motivation, they wouldn't need you to lead them. Add value by getting your people as well as yourself clear on what you and they want. And lastly, in marketing, add value and position yourself as a subject matter expert. Our clients are getting referrals and job orders from this right now, and their prospects truly value the meetings. This positions you as a trusted advisor and leaps you ahead of your competition and the commodity approach recruiter. And again, I'm going to go deeper on all these areas in this in our event, where we'll spend. We'll spell out. We're gonna spell out. I'm not sure if it's going to be day 1 or day 2. I'm tweaking the final thing. We're going to go into depth on the training on how to do a roundtable, so you don't have to be in the marketing venue to do that. And power lunches, as well as the time to walk you through exactly, specifically, and precisely how to install metrics the right way into your firm, whether it's solo or you have a team. So you need to attend the Road Back to Great Clients, how to build or rebuild a business that runs without you. And again, remember, the investment goes up to Friday. It'll eventually be $397. It's only $197 now. You want to go to get.therecruiteru.com/emerge. And let's see, I'm going to go over to the Q&A box. So if you put a question in chat, so I'm looking for, I have tracked not tracked, but to be honest, it is too much work on my part currently just focusing on rebuilding after the virus. And Karen, I think you're coming next week. I just won't use your last name. It's too much work not to do the metrics. You know, I use, you know, I know I'm a little box over here. Our firm used this little Post-it pad and we did hash marks. You know, it takes 2 seconds and then you just enter it into a spreadsheet. Because what you're doing is you're wandering the sea in a sailboat without a rudder. So you're taking your business wherever it's going to go. And I would just challenge you that by not, you're focusing on the things, and I'm not saying you're not working hard, but when people track metrics, I usually find they get 2 or 3 hours back in their day because they become focused on the right things and they stop drifting. Do you have a simple solution I have done with spreadsheets? Yeah, so with our clients, we have a portal, or you can go to RPM dashboard and subscribe to that and just enter the data. It takes about 5 minutes a week. So I think it's rpm-usa.com. You can enroll through us with that. We have a license with John, so we have a better rate. I think our rate for non-clients, our clients get it free. Our rate for non-clients is $39 a month. I think John is $59. What is the definition of an interview? Same as before. First-time interviews, correct. First-time interviews, phone. Now I say Zoom or face-to-face. Not the first time. Not the first time they meet face-to-face. K, are these statistics about number of presentations to win a search assignment mainly contingent searches or engaged? I'd say with our pool of clients right now, it's more than 50% contingent, but there are some engaged. So it's not, you know, 100% of our client base is not getting 100% of their searches engaged. No. Interviews to placements in this market. Give me a second. I think I said 6.54 was the current. Yes, 6.54 first-time interviews. That's going from March like 20th-ish through Monday, June 15th. And what's the verbiage you make when making a cold call? I gave you the flip marketing one. That's how I did 90% of my cold calls, that flip marketing. And we're going to teach 3 other ways to cold call without market at the event. So if you want to go deeper on that, again, there's only so much we could cover in an hour where I'm trying to cover all the aspects of your business. What about hiring a firm that does lead gen? I just haven't seen one that has done a good job with it. I get asked that almost every month, and I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just not aware of a company that's done it. I know of companies that have paid thousands of dollars and got, what they typically get are crappy HR leads where the HR people don't call you back. And again, it's not what we do. It's not what I teach. So I'm not saying there's not a good one out there. Hiring somebody internally for the same investment you're making doing lead gen, teaching them the right way how to be a marketing coordinator, setting it up with the right systems and processes, actually costs you less and gets significantly better results. How do you evaluate a new hire within 3 or 4 days? What goals, metrics do you give them in that short amount of time that they have to achieve? So again, I'm going to cover this in more detail next week. I think if I hit answer live, it shows up. The question shows up. It's very early on, it's presentation count. So if they don't hit the presentation goal that I give them, it's simply presentation count. It's not call count, because I don't care if you make 1,000 calls and you only talk to one person, you didn't hit the goal. And we give them very specific presentation count goals after about 1.5 days of training. So I don't want to give all the numbers outside of context because it'll hurt you more than help you. But if they don't hit the presentation count goal, they're kind of on a warning. And if they don't hit it the second day, they're gone. And people go, well, that's absolutely ruthless. So I did this with probably 100 people in over a decade, maybe more. and I think I fired 2 or 3 in the first week. Here's what happens. When you hold people, when you give people a target and you cover it in the interview process that they're going to be, so a couple of people are putting, I'm going to put the link in chat. Because you said, somebody said, email me the link to the event, and you came in as anonymous, so I can't, I can't see who it is. But back to that question. People think I'm ruthless when I tell them I'm going to fire them in a day or 2. Like I said, off the top of my head, I remember 3 or 4, and I had to have hired over a decade when I started doing this, literally 100 people, if not more. When you're very clear with people what the expectations are, when you're very clear what the accountability is, when you're very clear what the consequences are, people hit those targets, number 1. Number 2, they become productive far more quickly. Most people when they hire recruiters drift for 4, 5, 6 months, not making any placements. People that we hired were making placements, it still takes 3 months because there's an incubation period. But 3, 4 months, most people are making placements, and most people are on target to make 200 grand they were on a run rate of 200 grand inside 7 or 8 months, minimum. Okay. Is it a good strategy to market my business as contingency, especially with the uncertainty of the market? So why are you paying up front when you can receive the same service contingent? That's a belief. Somebody that became mostly a retained recruiter, I absolutely do not believe you get the same service on contingency as you do on retainer. Companies believe that, and it's up to you to do that process the right way. And we're going to walk you through in the marketing thing next week how to become a trusted advisor and what that process is, because selling retainers is not a pitch. You do not say, here's why you need to pay me up front, A, B, C, D, E. That fails 99 times out of 100. The reason it works is you help them uncover how working on contingency has flaws. And you have to walk them through a very specific set of questions in a diagnostic for they go, yeah, that's happened to me. Yeah, that's happened to me. Well, you want to know why? No one's committed to your search. I will do it next week. Send me a link, okay, to your email. We will do that. Deborah, review the metrics, excuse me, for a job order. Did you say 3 or 4 prospects a day? Based on the metrics we're seeing in our on our team, let me just round it up to 18. So 18 divided by 5 is not quite, it's more than 3 and not quite 4. So let's say let's go nutty and say you talk to 5 prospects a day. You'd be getting a search a week statistically. Now, here's what, I'm not accusing you of this, Deborah. I've heard some people do when they've been on a call like this. They go out and they talk to 20 people in a week, they didn't get a job order. Well, it's numerical. So if you talk to 20, 40, if you talk to 80 by the end of the month, you'd have 4. You might get 3 in 1 week, right? We all know that happens. There's times where everything, everything you touch turns to dog doo-doo, and there's times where everything you touches turns to gold. So in tracking metrics, what other online tools do you suggest? Again, we have an internal, our team, we've developed our own, and RPM. Those are the only 2, you can do it within your ATS. Most of the ones within an ATS are flawed, which is why I recommend, RPM. Like I said, if you're interested in metrics and you want to sign up for a subscription, send an email to mikeg@recruiteru.com because we can get you RPM. For a discounted rate, because we have a huge license with the owner. Cockroach, can't wait for next week. That's got to be Mr. Levitt. It'll be great to see you, my friend. Yes, of course, got it. All right. I'm interested in both sessions on Friday. Possibly get a recording of the alternative. for a fee. Already signed up for last week. Awesome, Paul. Welcome aboard. We're going to be recording it. We'll figure something out, Paul. I'll make sure at some way, that you'll get access to both. Because our team and I started talking about that. I just don't want to make any promises, but worst case, like you said, for a fee, we'll bill you. But I don't think we have to go that far. Roundtable idea is intriguing. Do you suggest having a mix? This is from old friend Steve. Haven't seen you in the group in a while, my friend. We need your wisdom. Do you suggest having a mix of existing clients and new targets, all new prospects? We've seen it done. It's a great question, Steve. On the roundtable, it's a great way to serve existing clients and retain loyalty and add value beyond the placement. So Steve, you've been with us for a while. So part of my whole thing with existing clients is adding value beyond the placement. So you can mix it up, or maybe you have enough existing clients where you just do an existing client roundtable, or you can mix them up, or you can do either. There's no formula, but I would be doing it with existing clients. It's okay to mix them up. The whole thing is, remember, you're just doing this as a facilitator with a roundtable, and the value you're bringing is that you're bringing in the group. All right, if you have last chance to put in a question in the Q&A box. If you put it in chat, I might not have seen it because I was, there. But if you put it in the there's a Q&A box, a Q&A thing on the bottom of your screen. If you put it in there. Actually, we're already at 1:15. What I'm going to do is thank you all for coming. Last reminder, it's only $197 for about 8 hours where you're going to have access to me and the coaches. We're doing it live. Nothing's recorded next week. And hopefully we'll see you there. get.therecruiteru.com/emerge before the price goes up. What happens whenever I do this, I stay in integrity and people go, well, my hand was broken. I couldn't type, can I get the old price? No, my question always to somebody back is, how much would you sell your integrity for? Thanks, talk soon. One last question from Sharon. What do you say to clients that say they are getting good results from postings and don't need to pay a recruiter? It's a great question. I would say, one, we need to know that we can't help everybody, right? So I would challenge that to say is, one, that's awesome. Let me ask you, have in any of those where you're seeing good results from your postings, have you hired people from that, or are you just seeing interview flow? Have you had any turn downs from candidates? Have you lost any candidates? Would you want to compare them? Especially, I wouldn't necessarily do a search, but if you have people in the database, because Sharon, it costs you nothing to look at my portfolio, and the value is, because I've got a couple candidates, is best case for you. You hire one of the people you're getting off your postings, but you'll have compared them to some of ours. So you kind of be reassured that you're probably hiring the best available person in the market. So again, it costs you nothing to interview. I would not be searching on those. With those people that when they're saying they're getting good results of their postings and they don't need to pay a recruiter, do they have an opening now, or is this just a way to shove you to the side? Number one. And number two is, if they have an opening now and they say they're having a good result, let's say, what is it today, the 17th, I put them in my calendar to call, say, July 10th, and follow up with them. Did they fill the position? Because now, if they didn't fill the position, they're really going to need you. All right, everyone. Like to keep these under an hour and a half. Thanks again for all the questions. Thanks again for your phenomenal attention. And we'll see a bunch of you next week. Bye now.